Welcome to A4NB4Y.
Welcome to the A4NB4Y podcast, the normally a Legend of Zelda themed podcast where we go chapter by chapter through the game, but not this time. This time, we're doing the other thing that we do sometimes. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Fonzie, and I am an old video game. And with me, as always,
I'm Anthony, and I'm a lion's man. I'll let you decide if I'm the fish or the mushroom.
And I'm Cameron Hagee, a recently lit candle giving off the perfect aroma.
you
You smell it now, right?
Yeah, from a few blocks over.
I'm a big one.
Big old candle.
Big old candle. I'm a menace.
Looks like a beacon in the distance.
Imagine like a vat of wax that's like 6x6 across, like height, width. You just a giant candle bat. Just light it.
Just got like a
Linen
sequoia of a
flavor.
wick. Just
The stump
light
of a
that trunk.
sequoia. Just in the middle. It's like linen flavor or something. Just light it up. Just right in your yard. Just let all the neighbors smell
There's
it.
got to be a world record, like largest candle, right?
All right, let me see what
There's
it
gotta
looks
be.
like.
Okay, let's Google this. We're gonna come up with the same result.
Oh my lord, it's bigger than I thought.
Is it big status?
80 foot tall, 8 feet 6 inches in diameter.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm seeing one bigger than that.
Oh, where are you seeing it?
The world's largest candle.
I'm looking at the previous record holder. All right, what's the world one now?
It's a 127-foot wax candle that was featured at General Art and Industrial Exhibition of Stockholm in 1897.
Oh no, that's the one I was. Okay.
Oh my.
That's insanely big.
All right. That's a big old candle. I want a picture of it, but
And then there's apparently a Guinness Book World Record for this, and I'm not going to subject our listeners to what it actually is, but it's in private chat.
sir, what are you sending us?
Oh.
No thanks.
As long
That's
as you
fair.
don't leave them there too long.
It's a
Yeah.
dumb record.
It is a
This is
dumb
a pretty
record.
dumb record.
I mean, there's a record
Alright.
for everything.
Okay, so now that we're past that, I guess this is our best of episode. Last year we did a best plays of 2023, where we talked about all of the games that we played throughout the previous year. Whether or not they came out that year, that was not the requirement. It was just what have we been playing, basically. What were you up to this year that you really enjoyed? So we really liked making that episode, and we were looking forward to this one, making another one, making it again. So this will be our best plays of 2024. Odds are you'll be listening to this early 2025 if you're up to date with the podcast. If you guys don't mind, I actually wanted to start this episode by kind of just doing a quick rerun over the games we did cover last time.
I am curious to see what we played.
Okay. So, pretty much in the order of mention here, we went over Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Hi-Fi Rush, Brotato, Tunic, Sea of Stars, Cobalt Core, Pikmin 4, Remnant 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Rounds, Ember Knights, Void Crew, Clash of Clans, V Rising, Skyrim Together, Elden Ring, Mario Kart 8, Cyberpunk 2077, Vampire Survivors, Pokemon Yellow. We're already into honorable mentions at this point. Pokemon Yellow, Twilight Princess HD, Crab Champions, Ship of Fools, Duck Simulator. Can't believe that one made the list. The Cat's Hidden series,
So good.
which we talked about very briefly. The Risk of Rain series, Crisis Core, Moonstone Island, Persona 5 Royale, and then a series of Pokemon ROM hacks, which kind of led into some further discussion about like Fakeamon games. So there was like Pokemon Coral, the Emerald Rogue, or just Emerald Rogue, Unbound, Liquid Crystal, and Crystal Legacy. And then like Koromon, Cassette Beast, Nexamon all got just kind of casually mentioned. And then we ended off with Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and Deep Rock Galactic. So then over the past year, we've gotten 3 comments on that. So not too many games. But we specifically asked for comments where we asked the audience like what their best plays of 2023 was. And one of the comments we got on this was from like the beginning of December, maybe late November. So they definitely included some 2024 games on it, but we got a whole other list here. There was Windbound, which is I think a 2024 release. Inside, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Tekken 3, Metal Gear Solid, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Skyward Sword HD, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Link's Awakening HD, Bowser's Fury, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Wreckfest, and Need for Speed Unbound. I mean, yeah. So one of the criteria that we had last time was that we were specifically not going to talk about Zelda games because we are a Legend of Zelda podcast. So, like, obviously, we love those games.
Zelda? Echoes of Wisdom?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. This year, I'm for sure going to be talking about some Zelda games. So, just, I'm not going to mention, like, the Minish Cap, right? But yeah, pretty extreme list from last year. It took us 2.5 hours to get through all those. I don't know that we need as many this year or to go as in depth because I'm not gonna lie, some of my best plays of 2024 were on the list in 2023. So we'll probably just do like a brief recap of those ones and then keep it moving. So I guess our plan last time was we each bring 5 of our best games that we played and then kind of just go into some other things that we played that we just want to mention. Those are our honorable mentions. If I remember right, we just did a round robin. I think I started last year, but I kind of want to open it up to whoever feels like they have one they're really excited to talk about. So either you guys got one that you're like, I gotta talk about this game.
Well, I mean, of course I do. But I was waiting to see if Mayo's got another level of hype above mine.
I mean, all mine are hype, so.
Oh, he brought the hype train.
Yeah, I got the whole 5 cub caboose here.
All right, well, before I get run over by the train, let me shoot mine then. Let me shoot my shot. So if you watch the Game Awards at all, you might be familiar with a game that won some things around the indie game category called Balatro. And this is my first game I brought. It came out, I think it was earlier this year. It might have been at the very end of last year, but it is a poker-themed deck-building roguelike game. And basically that means they took the general concept of poker, which is you have, usually 5+ cards in your hand, unless you're talking Texas Hold'em, but this isn't Texas Hold'em. And you're trying to make a poker hand with the cards that you have in your hand. And then there are ways you can augment your run. You can increase how many hands you can play per blind, which is how you progress through the system. You can increase your discard, so you can pick up the 5 cards and redraw them into your hand if you have something you're going for and you just don't happen to have it. You're like looking for 1 or 2 cards. You progress through blinds. You have a small blind, a big blind, and a boss blind. And when you beat the boss blind, you go up an ante. And when you beat the 8th ante, you beat that run. Basically every blind as it scales, like it starts as the small blind at 300. I think the big blind is 450 and the boss is 600, but it keeps going. You have to get that many points by playing poker hands that you can buff with other cards. You can also level up each hand, so you can increase the level of pairs or flushes or straights, and you get chips when you play them, which are scored up like ace is worth 11, king, queen, jack, 10 is worth 10, and then all the face or the number cards are worth their actual value. And then you have multipliers, which you can get joker cards in the shop in between blinds to augment your run and give you multipliers, which will take all the chips you got from the hand you scored and multiply them to get sometimes ludicrous numbers. I've seen videos of people who have gotten the system so janked that it included an E in the number because it couldn't put that many zeros on the screen. So there are definitely ways you can break the game with the plethora of jokers available that can give you multipliers, even multiplying your multiplier. Like you can get 3 times multiplier if you play a 3 of a kind is a certain joker you can unlock. You can get some, hundreds of thousands, which usually the biggest you're looking at the end is probably like 100K. You can get that in one hand if you get the right stuff going. And it's a very addictive game, and I really enjoyed my time with it. And I just played it the other day, actually booted it up, was like, I kind of feel like a Balatro run. It was made by one person who's mostly remained anonymous and who goes by the name Local Thunk.
Local Thunk.
Local Thunk. Yeah.
Local Thunk. All right. Interesting.
That about covers it.
Nice. I've heard about this game, several resources. I mean, I follow along with like the Besties podcast, and every once in a while I'll listen to like the Giant Bomb cast, that kind of thing. I don't follow them as close, but both of those groups have talked a lot about Balatro, and I have seen it come up in the awards and stuff like that. So I've heard people talking about this all year long, and I've yet to try and dip into it. I think part of my hesitation is just that I'm not like a huge poker guy, and I know from the descriptions that it only barely starts with poker and then it very quickly evolves into something completely new and different.
Yeah.
But even with that, I kind of get stuck on the cards a little bit. So
I'm pretty sure there's something you can bring up that will just tell you every single poker hand that exists. Like, so if you're ever like, what do I have in my hand? You can just bring up a list and be like, pair, 2 pair. Oh, I might have a flush. Ooh, a full house is in my hand or something.
Yeah.
It's not really that difficult to learn the different poker hands, and it has like a thing you can just bring up. Pretty sure, anyways. It's also 10% off right now on Steam.
Nice. Good stuff.
Yeah, I was telling Cameron the other day how I just don't know poker hands and how I feel like I would, even though I know it's like rogue, there's like a different elements to it. I'm like, I don't know if I would succeed in the beginning of it because of that factor until I learn it.
You could also just have a different window or monitor open with a list of poker hands. There's only like 10 or 12 of them, I think.
That's true.
And that's really the only bar to entry. Everybody knows what a deck of cards looks like. So the rest of it, everyone should be familiar with. It's just the poker hands that some people might not know. You don't have to know the rules for 5-card stud or Texas Hold'em or Moonlight Baseball or any other kind of poker game out there.
I did hear the music of the game, and like it kind of sounds like a little bit like Russian folk and like Russian ska, and I love it.
Yeah, it's a bop. It doesn't, when you first hear it, it just sounds good, but it sounds like, is this good? Like it's like that flavor you have on your tongue that's like, I can't tell if I like this or not. Your ears for the first couple minutes are like, huh? And then eventually you're just like, okay, yeah.
Almost like Tetris in a way. It's like very Tetris-y.
I can see that.
If you remember
like
the
that
Tetris music.
That old arcade kind of electronic folka kind of
Yeah.
folk polka, yeah,
Because I think Tetris is also Russian, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
I think it used a Russian theme song. I don't remember where Tetris originated.
But yeah, I would highly recommend Balatro. And obviously, because the kind of game it is, if you were to see pictures of it, does not require a high-end PC whatsoever to play it. So I bet you they could get it on Android and iOS pretty dang easily if they tried. Like, it would require less than Hearthstone, which has already been on Android and iOS for quite a while.
Yeah.
There's no huge, awesome effects that happen or anything. It's just chill.
Nice. All right. Man,
Can
what's
you
your question?
out hype my Bellatro Mayo? Can you bring the fire this Sunday night?
I don't know if I'm gonna bring the fire, but I'm
We're
gonna
recording on a
bring
Monday.
something. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, all right.
So what I got is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. And this game, I'm kind of like, okay, so it's a Souls-like game. And I'm always indifferent with Souls-like games. I always hate them when they come out because I'm like, my way of thinking is like I'm a From Software fan. So anything that's not From Software, I just despise. But then I like look more into it and I'm like, I'm craving Souls-like, but I don't want to play like another Souls game because I've played them already too much. So that's why I pick like I've played Neo and I've played Neo 2 and I absolutely love those games. And Wolong Fallen Dynasty is basically Neo 2. It's like pretty similar to Neo 2. They have like a similar combat system. The game is a little different in combat than Neo 2, but essentially they're like the same game. Sekiro is also very similar. It uses the deflect system in Sekiro for combat, which is like I actually have another game that uses the deflect system as well. But Wolong is pretty cool. So for you guys that don't know anything about Wolong, it's a game that's set in I think 194 AD China, right after the fall of the Han Dynasty or somewhere around there. Borrows heavily from Chinese folklore and just tales and stories from Chinese culture. And like this is like fictional stories. Um, you name it. And then is basically like you have to fight the yellow turbans. That's like the name of the enemies is the yellow turbans. And it's run by the Zangs, which is like a real family in ancient China that were apparently a bunch of just jerks. And so like they basically fictionalized the Zhang family and you basically have to fight them, but there's also demons. So why not? So very Neo-esque in the fact that there's just demons running everywhere. So you have to fight two factions. There's two separate factions. But your kind of trump card in all of this is that you get to pick a divine beast. And so like basically like the divine beasts, which are the gods in China, they have chosen you as their like, dude. And there's 5 phases of combat for like whatever demon, I'm sorry, not demon, whatever divine beast you pick. So there's fire, metal, wood, water, and earth. And basically you have like an attack gauge and then you have a spirit gauge when you're in combat. And then your spirit gauge is based off of the divine beast that you picked. And so you kind of like do a lot of different move styles. You have different like elemental blasts and different like ranged attacks based on what divine beast you pick. And they're all actually gods from or mythical beings from China. So you have like Qilin, Yinglong, Baizhe, Xuanwu, Zaishi, Zuke, Bixi, Qingling. We have Teng She and Baihu, which the only one I actually know is Baihu, and that's a mythical tiger. But yeah, they're all like legit mythical beings that they've just kind of like put into this game and kind of given like a fictional backstory. But overall, the game's really good. It's hard. I would say it's not as hard as Neo 2. Neo 2 was a pain. Um, Sort of along the levels of like mid game Elden Ring in terms of difficulty. I've never played Sekiro, so I can't kind of give like a determination of like where it falls in that. So it's a Souls like, but it's not entry barring. Like you don't have to be a god gamer to play this game. Neo 2, anyone who's wondering, you do have to be a god gamer to get anywhere in that game, just so they're aware. But that's pretty much Wolong. It's a really cool game. It's super cool if you like just Chinese mythology and going to different locations in ancient China. They kind of like the developers, I think it was like Team Ninja or something. They uh they basically like did like a whole like trip and tour and they did like this like long talk about it, like Kind of like similar to what the Dark Souls team did, and they just kind of like toured all the locations in like ancient China and like drew inspiration from it. So super cool game.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was Wo Long, you said? WO?
Wolong
Gee.
Fallen Dynasty.
Oh.
You gonna rise that dynasty back up again, though, my man?
I'm trying. I actually haven't beat the game yet. It's funny. Most of my top plays for this year, like single player, have come from Xbox, and I've just like failed to beat all of them. It's so sad.
Sure. Um, all right. So I'm gonna start off by saying this was kind of a weird gaming year for me. Definitely wasn't able to explore as many new titles as I was hoping. But there was one that released right at the start of the year that kind of took my life by storm a little bit. um,
Oh,
yeah, no, I've been doing some sleep tracking, right, throughout the entire year, and I have like a whole graph. And when this game came out, there was a huge dip that kind of like forced me into tracking my sleep to make sure I was getting enough because that's how addictive this game was. And we've all played it, I know, because we've all played it together. And this is Pale World. Pale World is a it's the game that's being sued by Nintendo for being very
Yeah,
much
they are.
like Pokemon. Even though it seems like Nintendo might be grasping at straws a little bit, trying to figure out what to sue them about.
Yeah, they are.
So I'm not going to get into the details of what I know and what I don't know about the lawsuits that are happening, but I will say that this game, uh, between my childhood-esque love of Pokemon and my more uh, matured taste for adventure, survival type crafting and whatever games that are more recent, this game kind of hit the nail on the head for me in terms of just having such an addictive gameplay loop. Like run out, catch new pails, bring them back to your base, and try to create an efficient system for them to create more resources for you as you're out adventuring. Like if you get bored doing one thing, you can just kind of revert back to another mode of gameplay, and it becomes a vicious cycle. It is it's a pretty game. I mean, it's not like trying to be the most realistic or anything. It's got a little bit of that cartoony flair to it that makes it a little bit more evergreen. And quite honestly, like just the idea of having a private server where we were all able to kind of visit each other's bases and kind of explore the whole world and figure out what was out there, what was worth spending time on, what have you, but also like there being enough to discover secrets as you go and whatever. Like this game isn't even complete. Like it came out early access, and so there was a lot of story that was just not there. It was more of a let's build a base somewhere random on this map and then just kind of live in this space. And even with that, just the idea that there would be more was very exciting because what was there was really good. So, I mean, I know that we all probably have our opinions of this game. So I definitely want to hear what you guys thought of it as well. I mean, I know Mayo, they just did some big update that I haven't actually played yet. I stopped playing this game probably in like March. So or right around actually when Shadow of the Earth Tree dropped is probably when I fell off of Pale World. But before then it was kind of causing problems because of how much I was enjoying it. So
well, hey, if you want to lose some more sleep, I'm running a dedicated server right now.
Hey, yo.
yeah.
I'm playing
Oh,
that Pale game. I've already had a couple nights where I've been up till like 1 or 2 playing Pale World. That new
yeah.
island update. No, I love this game. Um, it's you lose track of what you're doing with this game. There's so much now in the world from when you guys played. There's so many NPCs to talk to. There's so many different like architects and like different things you can do. There's different like like program menus that you can like do with breeding now, and there's NPCs that are like strictly for like bounty systems, breeding systems. I mean, you name it. There's like this new island that was made is like a quarter of the size of like the whole original that was released. Apparently, it's huge. The game, they're just coming out with the game, and I feel like the game's not going anywhere. Like Nintendo can try to do their thing. I think the very least that's going to happen is they're probably going to owe some money, and that's about it.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to make changes to counter whatever Nintendo's trying to get at them with.
Yeah, they've actually released a lot of updates, fixing what Nintendo's original suing like the lawsuit was originally about. So curious to see how this plays out in the end next year, or maybe 2026. I think is the official. I don't remember.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Pale World. Towards the end, though, I did start to fall off, and I thought it was getting. I think it was the problem that it was a little grindy, but that was before they put in ways to get the things that I had to grind without having to do the grinding.
Yeah.
So it seems like it would be a lot better that way this time around, and I could spend more time doing the stuff I actually want to do and not being like, oh, time to do another iron run.
That is something that I don't think I would have returned back to the game for either if they didn't make ore stations. But I actually just checked the other day. They now have an ore station for every single type of ore, including the new ores on the new island. So like sulfur, quartz, coal, ore.
That's what I'm talking about.
And all the new ones. There's a generator. There's even an oil generator. I think that was a smart move on their turn to like keep players engaged for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like they're paying attention to where the pain points are and making changes.
Mhm.
So it's I don't know. I mean, I think, to be honest, I mean, we talked about this last time we talked about our best plays. Nintendo has gotten stale with Pokemon. Like Game Freak in general has not been doing as good a job as they did in the first few gens. And to be honest, a game like Pale World I think needed to happen. And unfortunately, the response is, "Oh well, we're gonna sue them," rather than, "Oh, we need to make better games."
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully, it ends up being both. Maybe they still end up making better games because I mean, listen, like I still have that love for Pokemon, clearly, but it's just I've not decided to dip back in yet. I haven't seen anything good enough from them for me to come back yet.
I think Pale World was the actual perfect game to come out too, because like the guy that made it has been reported to have used like some AI in it, and it was a kind of empty world at release, and it didn't have a whole ton of polish or even a whole ton of content. And people still flocked to it, and it got popular. I can only imagine Game Freak sitting there kind of just fuming like a volcano that's about to blow because a game that looks like it's not the highest quality game out there is getting praised so much for being like Pokemon and arguably being like an evolution of Pokemon that Pokemon has been refusing to make for decades.
Yeah.
So if there was any game that could kick Nintendo or the Pokemon Company or Game Freak's butt into gear about getting these games in a little better shape and maybe putting a little more effort into it, it would be this one.
Yeah.
I mean, what Temtem tried and that was a failure, right? So I feel
It
like
it didn't get as popular as it needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Pale World was all over the place. I hope it lit a fire under some butts.
Yeah. Cool. Cam, what's the next one on your list there?
The next one on my list is a game that released in 2024, so this was not a thing on our last conversation. It is called A Difficult Game About Climbing.
Okay.
Picture this. You are a man with nothing but a loincloth to your name. You may as well be a paraplegic because your legs do nothing. You are upper body strength personified. You lift yourself up onto rocks and crates and any other thing that is there that you can grip your little grippers onto, and you are swinging around and jumping around this massive upward scaling level with more and more difficult obstacles in your way as you go. It's kind of like Only Up. It's kind of like that game where you're the guy in the pot with the sledgehammer. It's a game
Getting
that,
over it, I think, is what that was.
yes, getting over it. It's a game that has a purposefully kind of clunky and difficult movement method to it that you have to perfect in order to actually progress through it. And it's supposed to be a pretty steep learning curve, and it's kind of supposed to be a little painful to actually get to where you're going. Like, you're going to fall a lot. And there are checkpoints along the way, but you can also fall over the edge of a checkpoint and go back to previous checkpoints. And there are some parts that are very notorious for that.
Oh,
So,
gosh.
I got to the point where I think I've beaten it 3 times, and one time I beat it in around, I want to say, an hour of gameplay through all 8 checkpoints. Was my fastest run of it. I didn't like speed run it or anything, but I did check my like what my gameplay time was before and after, and it took me like an hour or a little over.
Yeah. All right.
And this game was made by Pontypants, Studio Pontypants. Or that might
Okay.
just be the single creator. I'm not really sure. And yeah, so if you want to rage a little bit, but also feel really good when you finally master the mechanics of the game and swinging your guy all over the place, it's a fun game.
All right.
Yeah, it definitely seems challenging. I've watched a few streams where people were raging over it.
This. I don't know. I mean, it looks familiar, but maybe that's because I've seen so many getting over it things, you know? I mean, I probably remember when this game came out, I probably saw some streamers going through it, but I haven't seen anybody play it in a long time. It looks familiar, but yeah, it's I don't know that this is a game for me, but you know, looks good.
And it is 30% off on Steam right now.
Yeah, Steam's doing their winter sale. That might end before we release this episode, to be honest.
Hey, ain't nothing on sale. I'm lying.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
We'll play it though, maybe.
Yeah. Cool. Mayo, what do you got?
All right, keeping with the consistency of Pokemon like, I will now be covering Cassette Beasts. So this game is so much fun. Like, so much fun. And Cameron, actually, I gotta thank you. You introduced me to this game, and I think I played this like so much more than you ever did.
Yeah, you did.
I fell in love with this game. It took me actually a little bit like to get into it because the beginning they do this like story bit, and it's an isekai. So for those who may not know what isekai is, it's a Japanese animation or story where you are in a world. You either die or go to a portal or something, and you are no longer in this world. So, like, let's say reality on Earth, and you go to some fantasy. So it's an isekai. You are on Earth, and you get transported to this realm with these monsters that are roaming this landscape. And instead of like Pokeballs or anything like that, the game owes credit to its music because the title of the game, Cassette Beasts, you basically capture monsters on cassette tapes. Apparently, their description for why this happens is like cassettes are the only thing that like can be found throughout the world. I guess pieces of like Earth get like transported here, so like you'll see like maybe like Earth merged. I forgot the whole story. It was like this long beginning story. It's kind of a little bit to get into, but once you start getting into it and you get your first cassettes, the game just picks up. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a Zelda like in the way you explore. Kind of like, what's that Zelda game that was on the Switch a couple years ago? The remake.
Talking about Link's Awakening.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom in the sense of like travel across the world. And then monsters are just kind of like roaming about. And they use your cassettes to fight. There's types. So each cassette obviously has like a battle system for all of types, buffs and debuffs. There's a whole move set. There's an AP system in this game. So unlike Pokemon, where you get like a set amount of PP points for battling, which I think is archaic. And I've talked to Cameron about this and how I feel that a lot of Pokemon likes are moving away from the PP system and are moving towards an active AP system like Temtem.
Yep.
So basically, you get ability points per turn. So you get like however many, you get like 2 or 4 or whatever. And then each move has a set amount of AP that it costs. And you level up, you get more AP, obviously. But then the more you use moves during battle, or you fuse, or you have like status moves, it takes AP away. And so eventually you'll have to rest and skip a turn. And that's how Cassette Beast and both Temtem are. And I really enjoy this system because you don't have to go through the grinding of just buying PP potions or going to like, health centers or yada yada. Yeah, I had so much fun with this game. I've been urging Cameron because it is a multiplayer game, so you can do co-op. There's raid bosses
So it's
in
got
this.
online PvP and everything too.
Yeah, so you can battle each other, and you can walk around on the world together too. Um, and then there's raid bosses that you guys can fight together, which are I've tried to fight one solo, did not work out well. You definitely need more people. And then there's even a monster fusing system. So like if you and I are in a battle, we could fuse our cassettes together and form a new cassette. And I think this is just me spitting here. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that every cassette can fuse with every cassette. So I'm pretty sure they're all interchangeable. So you could just create new creations if you have fusions. So it's a pretty cool game. And another interesting mechanic of this game is the bosses. The story of the game is you basically have to go through the world and you're trying to figure out why you're there. That's basically your quest. And in doing so, you stumble upon these beings called archangels. And when I tell you that these things are straight nightmare fuel, I'm sure Cameron can attest. You
Yeah,
go
I've
to
seen
like an
one.
abandoned train station to fight these bosses. They're all in abandoned train stations, and they're those bosses that like the game is a specific art style. It's like a 2D cartoony pixelated, and then these bosses are like realistic, abstract faces and drawings that should not exist, and they're so terrifying to look at. And I absolutely hate them. They're just drawn in a different art style and they don't fit with the rest of the whole game, and it's just so unpleasing to look at and you just want them to be gone every time you fight them.
They say
But
really messed up stuff too.
they do. It's just, oh man, they did a really good job on the bosses of this game and just kind of like making the world feel like you're just stuck and hopeless and lost. And the music and the soundtrack is just so good. Like they actually have their album released on Spotify, and I actually have the album saved because it's just so good.
Yeah, I'm seeing a 10 out of 10 on Steam, just overwhelmingly positive and very positive reviews. And also, I'm seeing a Cassette Beast and Moonstone Island bundle for 46% off, and I'm about to add this to my cart because, like,
Oh, I didn't even mention that. Yeah. So, Cassette Beasts is actually developed and published, I believe, by Raw Fury, which are the same studio that does like Star Trucker, Moonstone Island. There's a few others I know, and those are all like top tier games, by the way, guys.
Isn't
Yeah.
Moonstone Island made by the same guy that did Stardew Valley?
Um, Let me go check. Oh, yeah. So okay. The publisher is Raw Fury.
Oh, okay.
So
gotcha.
Raw Fury has published both Moonstone Island and Cassette Beast. So like they're on that top tier publishing.
Okay, but they did not publish. It doesn't look like they published Stardew Valley.
No.
So he must have decided to work with a publisher on his second game.
Yo.
Interesting. Either way, yeah, that's in my cart now for after this podcast
Yeah,
because
honestly,
it
like
looks good.
I never beat
It
it,
looks good enough to try it, and
and I would love
honestly,
to co-op with
planning on
y'all.
getting Moonstone already, so that just kind of sweetened the deal there.
Hey.
So if you guys do want to do co-op, I mean, hey, raid sounds like more than 2 people.
I think, yeah. I don't
It's
know.
gonna be our best place of 2025 list. You know what I'm saying? All right. Where did my thing go? Is it me now? Am I up?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. So this game that I'm about to bring has gotten a little bit uh it's gotten a lot of discussion because it is actually just a DLC. But it's a big enough DLC that it got considered in a lot of like game of the year discussions. And that is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Mwah.
Just like a real perfect example of what DLC should be. Like nobody was ever going to dispute that Elden Ring was a full game because that joint was huge. Took forever to get through and had a ton of like unique good set pieces that told a solid story and honestly like was great adventure to go through. Shadow of the Erd Tree starts by like kicking everybody back to the same square one by rescaling all of the damage. So basically it's like you're starting a new game with just a more unique start point based on your build, right? You get into it about not even you have to be like halfway through the main game. That's just like a rough estimate. I'm just kind of spitballing, but you know what I mean. Like you have to do a certain number of like major progression points in the main game to get into it. But once you're in it, it's like an entirely new. I mean, some of the mob enemies are very similar, but most of the bosses and like major set pieces are telling an entirely new story and a new landscape, and it's actually really well done and adds a ton to the game for what is essentially like 2/3 of the price of the main game. But if you played both, you would know that Shadow of the Erd Tree is basically Elden Ring 2. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like a whole new game. But that being said, it is in all, sense of the word, it is a DLC. So when it came up as like, can we really call this game of the year? People were like, it's like it was too much of a gray area for it to really get traction. Like it was in the discussion, I believe it was nominated and things like that, but it didn't actually win any of those. And I think a big part of that was just the fact that it wasn't truly its own game. That being said, I guess I'll just say it's a Souls game. It's if you're not sure what it is or you haven't heard of it, I'm surprised. But basically it's just another entry into Dark Souls where everything is kind of I mean everything is difficult. you you progress by the skin of your teeth and you learn and you grow and you get better as you go, but it's the reward is kind of in that in overcoming the difficulty of it. So Shadow of the Earth Tree had no shortage of difficulty, so it ended up being a really cool experience to go through, and I don't know, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it's kind of what got me off of Peril World, and it took a very long time for me to find another game to get into. I think I was playing Shadow of the Earth Tree for like half of this year, to be honest, because I had limited gaming time, but you know. I still haven't beaten it. I'm at like the second to last boss of the DLC, and I've just kind of let it sit there for a while. So going back's going to be a real pain, but at the same time, I am looking forward to that day still. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Elden Ring is GOAT. I think I want to say this. I want to get something out there. I want to do a negative because I'm like a hardcore From Software fan. I played every single game. I'm the DLC is 10 out of 10, I think, for me in every regard except the weapons and like new DLC items felt compared to every DLC that's come before a tad bit stale. They usually go I guess I have a lack of a better words. Or I say the whole 9 yards in every DLC. They make like the craziest like moveset weapons and craziest things. And they kind of
Yeah.
held back a little bit and made like I mean they're unique, but I wouldn't if I was to do like a new game plus, I don't know if I'd be using any of the DLC weapons in that new game plus. That's like my only gripe about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, some of them definitely have more show than they're worth, but I mean, my experience with DLC is a little bit limited. I mean, I played like Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, and both of those kind of felt similar in that the weapons you'd get in the DLC were like, this looks really cool and might feel really cool to use, but in the long run, like it's not really more effective than the tools you already have.
Yeah,
Um,
like the practicality is not there. Like the Sword of Light, and the Sword of Darkness that we both got, I think up until like we stopped playing,
yeah,
those are basically utterly useless, like their ability. But the actual sword itself, like it's just a sword. You can use it, it's fine, it works, it's great scaling. Just its ability is like you might be able to like host a rave show, but I don't know if you're gonna fight a boss with it.
right. Yeah, that's fair. I get that. Uh, and if Cam seems quiet, it's because he hasn't played it.
Yeah. Not my cup of tea.
It is very much my cup of tea. I mean, I got Sekiro for Christmas. I haven't played it yet, but it's just the Soulsborne games get me, man. I love them.
Sekiro's the only one I actually have yet to play. I definitely want to hear what you say.
Cool. I mean, I'll try to fire it up soon, but maybe not too soon. I got so many other games I gotta finish out. My backlog's growing all the while. It's a problem.
That's how it be.
All right. So that's two for everybody. Cam, you got a number 3?
No.
Okay.
Of course I got a number 3. Let me get it out here. This is another 2024 release by Anigar Games. Anigar Games. It's
All right.
called Chained Together.
Ooh.
This is another climbing game.
This is another climbing game, very similar to the last one. You have been thrown into the depths of hell, and chained and bound together with your fellow damned, you begin to climb your way out, although I don't think that's really how that's supposed to work. But anyways, there is an obstacle course of sorts set up, going upwards again, similarly to the last one I talked about. Except this time you are chained together with 1, 2, or 3 of your buddy pal friends. And that makes it considerably more difficult because if you go for a long jump and Tommy over there doesn't know you're going for a long jump, you're not jumping very far. And Tommy might get pulled along with you and you might fall a very long ways.
This this hit streaming like a truck.
It did.
I saw this one everywhere this year. I have not played it myself.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There are many difficulties. I think maybe 3. There's one that gives you checkpoints, 3 checkpoints on your way up, like a quarter, a half, and 3/4 of the way. One that doesn't have any checkpoints, and one that has lava constantly coming up behind you. And if you fall and fall far enough to hit the lava, it's game over and you have to start over again.
Brutal.
That one's insane.
Have you played with randos, or do you actually like? Who do you play
No,
with?
I've played with Matt and Spat,
Okay.
and I think I played with Mayo once.
Yeah, we played.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember if it was all 4 of us, but there are increased difficulties. Like you can also make it so instead of like one person being chained to another, it's like a whole circle. So everyone is kind of all connected, and that makes it even harder.
My goodness.
Yeah. It's just a
Sounds
fun game
gross.
with friends.
Okay. You know, you don't like Souls games, but you like that.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a different kind of Souls like.
It's a different kind of difficult, or a different way of being difficult.
Yeah, it's true. My goodness. Such a simple game. I feel like there's not really much more to say about it.
Yeah.
You
It's
beat
simple,
it.
but it's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of those climbing your way up in difficult way games coming out ever since Getting Over It, I think, was the first thing that started it.
I mean, that definitely was like the start of, I feel like, the popularity, at least, of those kinds of games. Like, remember Quap back in the day, but that was like a flash game.
Wop.
Goodness. Mayo, what do you have? What's your next game?
Well, I guess continuing the trend now of the Souls likes that I'm currently going over. The next one that I have is called Nine Souls.
Nine Souls.
Souls
Okay.
game, non-Souls. So this game was kind of like a random game that went up on Xbox Marketplace, like the Xbox Game Pass. I looked at it, and at the time, I had like a random just hankering for 2Ds. Like I wanted to play like a 2D platformer kind of game. And so this one was like the top rated one. So I just kind of like picked it. I didn't expect anything. And I was like, oh, like right when I got into it, like blown away. The art style is absolutely just gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous. The game runs at like 180 frames per second. It's just beautiful every time you're in combat. The combat is pretty much like you get a reflect system, so it's been called by fans like the 2D Sekiro essentially because you get like a reflect system that you can like you get spells and stuff. So like based off your reflex, you can like do like ranged attacks or like different kinds of spells. So like I have one that like I reflect it and then I do like a dash through these guys. And then I like do like a second dash through and then come up from the top. And there's like different kinds, like there's so many you can pick from. You can get like a bow. It's crazy. And the bosses are very hard. So it's like legit 2D Dark Souls. So if y'all thought like Adventure of Link was hard, this is harder. For real. I have not beat this game yet, and
Hmm.
it's just so good. And then the story is really weird too. It's like you're this so it's Taoist. Am I saying that right? Taoist. It's
I think
like
Taoist
Tao.
is right, yeah.
Yeah, so the developers said it's a mix between cyberpunk and Tao, so they call it Tao punk. So it's like their new genre. So it's a Souls like Tao punk, and you basically are this like kung fu panda mouse fox that loses his fight against one of the nine souls, which is like a league of extraordinary villains, basically. So you lose your fight against one of the nine souls in like very ancient history, and you kind of like Majora's Mask your way off a cliff, like Link did, and
Okay.
some like weird stuff happens where like kind of like Link, like some random colors and lights, like basically trap you, and then like you go to sleep for like a long time. They don't specify how long you're like asleep, but you wake up in the distant future. You're a legend, apparently. Your name is Yi. You're like a legend to the people. This like kid, Schwan, I think his name was. I think it was Schwan. Uh, Schwan's a legend, by the way. He's like with you for like the whole game.
Which
He's
one?
like he's like this little kid. He finds you and then basically takes you to like the grandma of the village, and then like you get like your like your soul's level up system area, and like where you can do things. Yeah, all in all, like this game is like amazing. I had no expectations going into it. I just was like a random free game to play on Xbox. And then like I remember like looking over because I really enjoyed it and I was planning on dropping Xbox, and I looked over to buy it at Steam, which I haven't bought it on Steam yet, but there it's like it had like 20,000 like overwhelmingly positives, and I'm like I had no clue this was popular on Steam. I guess I don't like look at the 2D like action platformers, but um yeah, the game's legit.
Okay. Cool. I've
Yes.
honestly, like, I think I've seen this character somewhere, but I have never heard of this game. Like, I've never, like, it got the best narrative indie game award at the Taipei Game Show.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was popular because I was playing it off Xbox, and then like I go over to Steam and I'm like, oh, this game has traction. Oh dang, okay.
Wow. Kind of interested in a game that's got the best narrative. I don't know if I'm gonna throw down for this now, but I mean I'll try to keep it in mind maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting game. It satisfied the 2D like platforming crave that I had.
Yeah.
Connect with your inner Taoist fans.
Your Tau punkist.
Listen, sometimes some really good stories come out of the Tao backgrounds. I don't know how else to say that. I mean,
I didn't even
um,
realize this, but a lot of my apparently a lot of my top fives have like coercive themes. Like I have two games about basically China and like Tao, and then I have a lot of Souls likes.
yeah. Uh, so I'm gonna for my next game. This next game, I'm not the person on this podcast who's played it the most, but I'm also not the person who's played it the least. It is primarily a multiplayer game, and it's made by Valve, and I don't know if anybody saw it coming, but it was really good, and that is Deadlock. Um, Came out earlier this year in like I don't even know what you call. I mean, it's invite only beta test, right? I mean, I don't know if it's technically a beta or if it's just early access, but this is a third person shooter MOBA, kind of in the feel of somewhere between an Overwatch and like a League of Legends, except further from League of Legends than you would think. Um, it's really good. I don't know any other better way to say it. I have my favorite characters and everything, but basically, you have a hero that comes with 4 built-in abilities, and throughout the game, you purchase upgrades, you purchase things that actually have additional abilities if you choose, add them to your character, that kind of thing. And basically, you try to fight your way towards the enemy base in order to take out their main component, right? Like in League, that would have been like their crystal. In this one, it's like a deity, right? Like they have
Yeah.
their patron, I think is what they call it, but it's very steampunk. Like everything you're fighting, I don't even know if steampunk's the right
It looks like
word.
something that like Tron would be the enemy from Tron would be stuck in.
Yeah, like it's
Like a technological sphere that has a face in it.
right, right, but it's also like mixed with old-timey New York setting. So um it's almost it's like arcane almost. So I guess that would be more like a League of Legends type setting as well, the arcane punk. Like you're going through and all of the abilities kind of stem from some kind of magic background or some kind of like even the technology that's in the story is kind of mixed with um like souls or something. So everything kind of has like a dark overtone, um where nothing is just simply technology or like some kind of spirituality separate from each other. Like the two are just kind of mixed in this. So it's got some cool theming. It's got a really cool visual style. It's just it plays really well. Like I haven't seen too many major balance issues, but the game, because it's like in its pre-release form, uh does see quite a lot of changes like over the course of the time we've been playing it. Like some critical mechanics of the game have actually like gone back and forth as they've tried different things out, and it's led to some nights where you get on and you're like, what is this garbage that I'm playing? And then like 2 nights later you'll be like, oh, thank goodness they fixed that, because they did not need to make that other change they tried. So it's a little bit volatile right now, but I can't say that I've regretted any of the time I've played it. Like it's just a good solid MOBA shooter.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And there's not so many characters yet that it's difficult to really get in the door. Like League or Dota with their hundreds of champions you'd have to like know in order to know how to play around them and stuff. There's like 12 guys, 16 guys, something like that.
Yeah.
It's more like the Overwatch roster.
Yeah. I like that too, that it's more streamlined.
A very fun game.
I kind of dread the day that changes, and I hope it doesn't. I hope it stays like an Overwatch where at most they might hit like double what they have now, but not beyond that.
Oh, have it get really big.
Yeah, I don't want it to get really big. That would be bad. I don't want to have to look up the encyclopedia of the people I'm playing against.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 3.
All right. That's actually my number 5, so I'm gonna have to bring a backup in. See, my 4th game of the year that I played and enjoyed, that I'm bringing up to bat right now, is Escape the Backrooms. That I played with my bud Anthony.
So fun.
And so I guess in order to really understand this game, you kind of just have to understand what the backrooms are in general. So it's kind of like a creepypasta made with the idea of video game logic when you have like a surface that doesn't have collision programmed for it, which means the thing that you would run into and you can just walk through it. It's called like clipping through something, or if you were to find like a little space in between two walls and you could somehow slip your character through it, you would clip through the wall. And so the idea is that people would clip through some surface in reality, like you're walking through a back alley in a city or something, and you see a wall that just, it looks a little fuzzy, maybe like something's just off about it. And if you go up to it and you touch it, you get sucked through the wall and you get thrown into the back rooms, which you can also kind of think about in video game related terms. When they're making a game, they have a bunch of assets, right? Like they have all the buildings that would go in a city, but they haven't actually put it into the city yet that you would run around in the game. So it's just a file of a bunch of buildings kind of just thrown together. If you were to run into that file and play the game, you would make sense of nothing because it's not aligned properly to actually make a city. That's kind of like what the Backrooms is. It's like an endlessly sprawling file of stuff just kind of thrown in with no rhyme or reason to it. It's just a giant labyrinth of nonsensical everything. Doors that lead to nowhere, pits that just go on forever if you were to fall into one. And it's not really known if you can get out or not. And there's a bunch of different levels that people have made. Water levels, cave levels, levels with volcanoes, levels on islands. They all have different things that might be there, different things you can eat, different things that might want to eat you.
Okay.
And it's basically like a horror. It's a horror themed thing. You get stuck there, you're probably not gonna get out of there. And it also really thrives on the concept of liminality, which is like a transitional space. Like, so a good example would be an airport. So like you go to an airport, you don't expect to stay at an airport very long. You're not trying to spend a week at the airport. You're not going for a vacation at the airport. You're there to get on a plane, to go to another airport, to get off and get to your destination. It's like you're transitioning through the airport to another place. And so it gives you that kind of feeling of a place that should have a lot of people and a lot of energy and a lot of traffic, but it's completely empty. And it gives you that kind of creepy feeling like if you were to see a school cafeteria in the middle of the night with the tables up and all the lights off, and it feels like there should be people there. It feels like there should be energy in the air, and there's not. And it gives you that unsettling feeling. That's like liminality, and that's also a big play in the backrooms. It's like something you've kind of seen before, something that's a little nostalgic, something you feel like you might recognize, but also it's totally foreign and you've never actually seen it before. So there's a lot of different creepy elements that go into making up the backrooms, and this is a game that throws you into the levels that have been created as the backrooms, and you survive through them, through the different entities that are trying to attack you as you solve puzzles, trying to find your way through the labyrinths of the different levels that have been created, and you can do so with up to 4 people, and it's a lot of fun to get through the different levels, because they did a pretty good job of incorporating a lot of the more popular ones.
Is it mainly player created levels that this is based on, or does it have like a base set of levels and then there's just like modded in levels and things? You said there were a lot of levels that people have made.
Yeah, it's all community made and driven, so they're
Okay.
all just stuff made up by people at some point. This does include the more popular ones, and there are different what would you call it? Different canons to the backrooms too, because there's the actual official wiki, the backrooms.wiki, and then there are also a couple other different groups that have taken the levels and kind of put different lore behind them into what is the backrooms and how it can tie into our world. Is it like a government experiment to find another place to live or something of that nature, or is it paranormal and it's the barriers between dimensions are breaking down, so people are slipping into this other dimension or something like that.
Okay. So I'm looking at it on Steam right now, and it's funny because it's like, is this game relevant to you? And it's like, this game doesn't look like other things you've played in the past. As such, we don't have much information whether or not you might be interested. I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. Um, it looks intriguing. I mean, I think I would be bothered by the fact that you don't actually know if you can get through a level or not until you've played it.
Oh no, you can. I mean, the game is made that you can always get through it. The concept of
Okay.
getting sent to a level out of like the wiki and you just read about what's in the level and then imagining yourself being in it, some of those might be inescapable. But the game is made so there's always an exit. There's always a place you're working towards, and there's puzzles they put in there too.
Gotcha.
Me and Anthony actually already completely beat Escape the Backrooms, but there is another Backrooms game that we're planning on trying, which, this one's called Escape the Backrooms, while the other one is called, like, Backrooms Escape something. So it's two of the same dang words as this game, but it is a totally different game, and so I'm looking forward to trying that too. I think I might have seen a
Wow.
YouTube video or two about it, but I don't, like, know everything or anything like that.
Huh.
That one was like
Yeah.
$4 or $5, so, and that's also 4 players, so if you're interested, Fonz, might be able to get you in on some back rooms.
I don't know. Maybe in October.
Oktoberfest.
I do gotta say I like the back rooms. I want to say like in terms of like overall fear, right? Because like that's what this game is based off. But like I don't think I really hit that emotion all too much. There was like a few levels that just got me out of the game element. And it was thalassophobia, which is just fear of deep bodies of water. And there is a level that's just a giant ocean, and you have to like swim with a tiny little canoe boat. That I was terrified the whole time that we were playing that level. I just didn't say anything. And then I think there was like the level like with the old hotel. That one got me the worst.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of all of them, that one stuck with me.
Hmm.
I did not like the old
Thalassophobia
hotel.
definitely gave me the most like anxiety playing it.
Mhm.
Although I can't really say any of it scared me. I'm not a very easy person to scare, but I just like the backrooms in general, the whole concept of it. It's also like very similar to SCP, if anyone knows about the SCPs that have been made up. It's very much so in that same vein. Yeah. But yeah, I would agree. There are also a couple levels in this game that are pretty annoying to get through. But if you're a fan of the backrooms, yeah. And there's also a lot more games in development that do look a little better than this game too, that are backrooms themed, and I'm excited to see where those go with a little bit higher of a budget. But this was a fun game for the price point though, which right now is also 20% off at $8.
Guys,
Hey.
don't talk about the price every time.
There'll be another sale.
Just funny. Yikes. All right. Okay. Mayo, you got another you got a fourth game to bring to the table?
I have a fourth game. And this game's coming in at 34% off on Steam right now.
Yo, get it.
1979.
Woohoo.
All right. Anyway, so this is my third Souls-like game that's coming out on here. You already know it. I'm the
jeez.
Souls King. That's what I'm talking about. The Souls Legend. This is going to be another Crab's Treasure. So,
I wanted to play this game. Did not get around to it.
yeah, there was 2 games that I played exclusively when I had like a month off of work after, well, actually, yeah, almost 2 months off of work in September and October when I had my child. And in between her naps and Kira doing stuff or napping, I had to find something to do. And this game and the next game I'm going to talk about is what occupied all of that time. This game is legendary, honestly. It's more platforming, honestly, than any like a Souls-like, but it still has Souls-like elements. So I appreciated both platforming and the Souls-like aspect of it. You're basically Krill, this little guy, the tiny little crab. Poor little dude is just sitting on like a rock inlet on, bathing in the sun, just loving life, just chilling. He's just living the best crab life. And then the loan shark comes out, right? And he's like, hey, you got to pay up. And Krill's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you just got to pay up. We annexed this territory, and this little inlet is now ours. He's like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, you got to pay your taxes, or we're going to have to kick you out. And Krill's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. What are taxes? He's been living on this inlet his whole life. He has no clue what taxes are. And the loan shark's like, listen, the Duchess has just taken this whole territory. She's now protecting it. It's under her protection. And for that, honor of being protected by the Duchess, you now owe taxes, and you have to pay taxes on every tide. Every tide that comes in, Krill's got to pay tax. Krill's like, I don't know.
That's
She's
like a
not keeping
daily
this.
thing.
She's not keeping this safe. Like there's seagulls everywhere. He's like, listen, don't get into semantics. Just pay up. And Krill's like, I don't got money. So basically, the loan shark takes everything you got, takes your shell, and says you can't live here anymore on this inlet. So you chase the loan shark because you're like, give me my shell back. And then he goes into the ocean, and you're like, okay. So you jump after him in the ocean, and you start to like talk to some crabs, right? And you're like, yo guys, what's up? Like, I'm looking for the Duchess. And the crab turns around, and he's like, and you're like, what? Hold on, what's wrong? What's wrong with? And then you start attacking him. You fight all. Well, actually, you don't have like a weapon yet. You're just kind of like running from all these like psychotic crabs, and you're like, why won't they talk to me? And then you finally catch up to the loan shark, and you like ask him like, what's wrong with these people? And he's like, oh, the city life's got them real bad. Yeah, you don't want to talk to them. And then he's like, look, kid, go to the city, go to the guard barracks and get a job, and then maybe we could talk about your home. So you got like a quest now from the loan shark. You got to go to the city. That's basically like how the story starts. It's like honestly one of the best games I've played in a while. Story wise, it's funny. The characters, the dialogue is great. Like you come up to like this one like little snail, and you start like talking to him, and then he's like, you basically say like, "Oh, it's just crazy that we have taxes." And the snail's like, "I know, taxes are like the worst. Like it's like, why do we have to pay these taxes?" And then you start talking about like taking out the Duchess. You're like, I kind of want to like wish the Duchess wasn't here. He's like, "Whoa, whoa, what are you talking about? She's protecting us, dude. You can't be talking about and taking away taxes, man. You're taking away my hard earned. I'm paying for you. I'm paying for these taxes. Okay, I'm paying every dollar for to
What is
bring this city up." And then he like basically attacks you and you kill him, and it's just so sad. And the whole game's just funny. And like make it better, instead of souls, you collect microplastics. So you like level up your character by however many microplastics you have.
cleaning up the ocean, man?
Yeah, exactly. And then there is like a spell system in this game too that I want to talk about, and it's just so funny. So the magic in this game is umami. Yes, umami, the cooking sensation that is umami, sweet and savory. Your spells are umami spells, so you get umami attacks at some point in the game, and basically every shell that you get in this game, the game is based kind of like off Mortal Shell, where like you're this like ghosty guy that can like transform between bodies, and all the bodies have like a move set. So each shell gives you like a move set, defense, and umami attacks. And it's just so funny. Like they call it umami. I don't know. It's just so spicy.
All right.
And this is like a like honestly, like even you, Cam, like I think you would even enjoy this game, even though it is a Souls like, where like if you die, you have to like go get your microplastics. It's not like Elden Ring or Dark Souls where like it's hard to get to. It's like pretty open landscapes, and so like if you die, you can always usually like run to get it and like not have a problem. Like it's not like Elden Ring where like trying to go get your stuff, like you'll probably die again, kind of thing.
Hmm.
It's pretty much only the bosses in this game that are like hard. The
Yeah.
enemies are not really like terribly difficult. The bosses, on the other hand, are very difficult.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's another Crab's Treasure. Hilarious comedy Souls like game.
I heard about it back when it came out. A lot of people liked it.
Yeah, I saw it make its rounds. I just wasn't in the market at the time. So like, I know I said at the beginning of the show that it's been a weird gaming year for me. Mainly, I think part of that was that we moved this year, which took a lot of time in terms of like packing and getting ready and actually house shopping and things like that. So like even compared to a normal year, I kind of spent less time gaming in general. So my selection was pretty limited. Like some of the games that I'm talking about, I may played for a little while and then kind of fell off of. But I know similarly, Mayo had a baby, so
Mhm,
you know
mhm.
things might end up looking a little different for him too when it comes to time to game and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm actually gonna break the rules on this next one. When we said we're not going to talk about Zelda, and I'm actually going to do that for the next two, so y'all just brace yourself, I guess. Because the next game I'm going to bring is actually The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Yo.
We have not done. I mean, we talked about maybe doing like a first impressions episode or like some kind of mention of it. I mean, I think we were gonna go over like the preview at some point, but we kind of decided against all of that. We'll wait and probably throw this into our schedule for the future. This is a Legend of Zelda game where you play as Zelda, which doesn't happen often. Uh, it's not the first time it's ever happened, but like I said, it's not a common thing. Uh, most every other game you're playing is Link. And in this, instead of straightforward combat, your main means of traversing through the world, dealing with enemies, etc., is to make copies of in-game assets. That's probably the most technical way I could put that. You can basically make mimics of enemies. You can make duplicates of furniture and random objects that you find. And you can use those to basically go head to head with the world itself. So it's a very cool mechanic. It's very interesting. They did throw in the ability to turn into more of a Link style sword fighter in order to like make certain combat situations a little more natural feeling. Um, or if you're just getting frustrated with trying to get your guy to hit the enemy the right way, you can just kind of do it yourself. Um, especially if something like an engagement is taking longer than is like enjoyable, you can just kind of hit the kill switch and kind of go in on them yourself and be like, fine, I'll do it myself. um but it's a refreshing game. I haven't beaten it yet. I have a feeling I'm roughly halfway through it, just based on kind of some things that I've seen and the feel of where I'm at. uh that being said, there was a moment, especially in the first like 3 or 4 hours, where I was like, this is the best thing that's happened to the series. And now I kind of feel like, no, it's pretty good. I don't know if it's the best thing that's happened in this series, but it's all right. Like, I enjoy it. It's a good game. Um, it's not like the top of the charts for Zelda games, but it's not the bottom either. Like, it's definitely better than some games and worse than others. So I've been enjoying all the time that I've spent with it. I'm looking forward to finishing it. That'll probably happen sometime in the first half of 2025. But yeah, it's is a good release for the series. Like, I feel like it was very out of the norm for the Legend of Zelda series, and I feel like they need a little bit more of that. Maybe not more of this specifically, but more of that willingness to explore new mechanics and try new things.
Yeah, I think it was a very fresh take on Zelda. And while I, like you said, I don't think it's the best thing ever, because I still think that TOTK and Breath of the Wild, as much as I despise seeing those right now, I think they were like the freshest thing Zelda's had in a long time, and I think that they definitely needed to happen. So I think Echoes of Wisdom has its place in Zelda, and I think that it's going to be a fun game to go back to for sure. Like it's definitely solid.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I feel like in a future playthrough of the game, I wouldn't collect every echo. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like one of the things is that the game does kind of snowball to a point where it's a little bit overwhelming to just pick what you're going to make a copy of, where you really only need a few fundamentals to make it through the game. So, it's one of those things where it's like it's really fun, it's really cool to like explore, okay, what can this monster do? What can this platforming assist get me? But in truth, a lot of times you don't need any of those things. Um, the other thing that I wanted to mention about this before we're done talking about it is that it is a bit more story driven in that it's an open world, but there's not a ton of empty space to get lost in. Every part of the story has a good beat attached to it where you're actually talking to NPCs and getting some personality and some flavor out of the world. Uh, so it feels a lot better in that respect than some of the more recent Zelda titles. But at the same time, like they took the mechanic and kind of it's something where it's like it's really exciting at first until you realize that you've kind of just bogged down your UI with random stuff you don't need. So yeah, it's got a really interesting balance of like really exciting new changes and or even just exciting returns to form, mixed with some clumsy just piling on.
It is a very fun game, though.
Yeah,
It's
it is
uh, it's
very fun.
it's pretty unique for a Zelda game in the way that it plays.
Yeah.
And there's a very fun aspect to playing a Zelda game where you almost get to like summon Pokemon-esque things and be like, go get him, my Moblin. Yes, use tackle. At least that's kind of what and then when you get annoyed at your guys not being very competent, you just turn into sword fight mode and go, all right. Guess I'll do this myself then.
More times than not, that's kind of how I break down and use it, because I tried not to use it too much. But there'll be times where I'm like, "You're a bird, just fly at it," and they won't. And then I'm like, "Okay, forget this. Let me just shoot an arrow and be done with this whole thing."
There it is.
Yeah. Cool. Kim, what's your next one though?
Oh, my next one?
Yeah.
The last one?
Yeah, the one I kind of stole.
It was going to be Deadlock, but we already talked about that. So I grabbed another one that I had a lot of fun with playing for a while. Not super new, 2019 release. This is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Wow.
Yeah, Anthony knows.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a tactical shooter right up there with most Tom Clancy games. You're a bodyguard sent to an island to be a bodyguard, and when you get to the island, the thing you got to the island in goes kaboom boom, and it turns out the whole island is in a state of anarchy, power struggles, people trying to take over, all that kinds of stuff, because this was an island that was supposed to be this utopia for scientists and technological research where people like got along. It was a small, tight-knit community. There wasn't going to be interference from the outside. It could be like its own little thing. I think it was even called like the Eden Project or something like that because it was supposed to be like a paradise. And well, they had their own bodyguards, and those bodyguards had a lot of weapons, and those bodyguards had a lot of ideas, and some stuff happened. And so here we are.
Okay.
We have a bunch of different classes we could choose from to play our character. Yeah, like the stealth panther class, the sharpshooter sniper class, the guy that kind of is the mid range with an assault rifle, just your typical combatsman. And so you get to choose your playstyle, and it unlocks challenges along with it. They give you more perks for the class as you complete them. You kind of go into enemy I guess you would just call them compounds. They're all different kinds of. There might be like one that is a big, a bunch of buildings that has a helicopter pad. There might be another one that's like inside a cave, partially. Different kinds of complexes. It might be one that's like got a bunch of residential houses. One that's more of like warehouses. One that's more of like office buildings. Yada yada. And you take out the enemies in as stealthy of a way as you possibly can, because when you get into combat, you're not usually the strongest. Like, it's much better to take things out stealthily, because if you get overwhelmed, it can be a difficult experience, especially on higher difficulties. And I just thought the gameplay was a lot of fun. You either get a squad of 3 bots that you can control, or you can play with your bros, up to 3 of your boys or your gals, and take on the challenge of stealthily taking down your enemies.
Okay.
Yeah, this was definitely a surprise game that I forgot about.
Right?
I had so much fun playing it this year. I don't even know why we stopped. I feel
Just
like
like, I mean, I remember playing
something
Ghost
came up.
Recon back in like the Xbox 360 days. Just like over at sleepovers and stuff like that. Um, I have not played anything Tom Clancy in a long time.
It's still going.
I think my favorite thing about Breakpoint, which I don't know if the newer, because there is a newer Ghost Recon. I think my favorite thing about it though was that the map is insanely, and I mean like Pale World, like Elden Ring big. And you can just go anywhere and spawn into like any zone and just take a helicopter or like a vehicle and just ride with your bros like through the landscape. And there's like even different modes. And I think that was my favorite thing about it.
Bunch of different vehicles you can get to, some with certain weapons, some that were super fast, some that you could have so many people in, helicopters to fly around in. Yeah, it was pretty extensive. It was a lot of fun. A lot of different guns you can pick up with different rarities. You can upgrade all your different armors on your different parts of your body. Then there's just purely aesthetic changes, so you can have kind of like how games will have, you want this armor for the stats but you want it to look like this one, so you can make your guy look a certain way. It's got the cosmetic stuff you can put on top of it, different camos you can unlock through different achievements. A pretty, I'm not going to say it was like a phenomenal story, but it was a decently length story, and there was a lot of side quests and stuff to do too, so a lot of content in the game. There was also DLC stuff that we didn't even touch, stuff that would like kind of put a mask over the whole map of something going on. So normally the map is just in its normal state of the anarchy and the enemies are around, but then you might pop into a certain like DLC mode where there's bombs dropping out of the sky and there's smoke everywhere and there's fires and there's new enemies around. And you can kind of go in and out of those phases of that stuff happening to do the quests in them. It had a lot of cool stuff.
And I just remember too, like WoW, and most like RPG games, MMOs, they have a raid system too. So like once you get to max level of, I believe, like the weapon level mode, you can, with I believe it's 4 people, you can go into a raid like quest and compete for like, you know, the ultra gear, like the ultra weapon gear. We've never actually gotten that high because we never got to max level, but that is also like another thing they added on into the game, which is just cool.
It's on sale for like $12 right now on Steam.
Bro, you could get it on CD keys probably for like $3 or $4.
I mean,
Yeah.
so it's multiplayer, like co-op. Would it be new and fresh if we were to play it together, or would it be like old hat for you guys?
It'd probably be fresh in the sense that like I would pick a different class and like do that.
I could play it again. I can't really say how long I would stay interested and invested in playing it, but I would pick it up again.
Gotcha.
I think I got pretty invested.
I put a good amount of time into it when we played it.
We did.
It wasn't all that long ago. But it is a very fun game.
That this year, to be honest, I forgot that was a thing.
It looks like Breakpoint. It's weird because like the wiki says that it was a July 2019 game. That doesn't feel right, but maybe it is.
No, yeah, it is because there's a newer
it's
one
2019 game.
out.
Gotcha. On Steam, the release date's January 2023. So I wonder if it didn't release on PC until later.
Maybe, or maybe it was stuck on Ubisoft's app, and they finally let it go to Steam.
Gotcha. If it's that good, $12 seems reasonable for a multiplayer shooter. We haven't played one of those in a while, I feel like. Outside of like, Deadlock.
Yeah. And this is not Deadlock.
No.
There's no PvP in this.
All right, I'll keep it in mind.
And those are all my games of the year.
Man, I wish you had told me about Deadlock when you were actually playing it.
You mean Breakpoint?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Breakpoint. They're both 2 syllables, okay?
I think
Fair point.
Breakpoint. I think we played it like early summer, which I believe is when you were moving. No.
Yeah, summer was a real rough time.
Yeah, so
for
that's
me to
probably
play
one of the
anything.
reasons.
All right.
Yeah, you would have been the fourth too, because we played with Matt a lot. Which Matt might be interested in picking it back up again too.
It seems like a Matt kind of game.
Oh yeah. What's your final game, Mr. Souls like?
Yeah, right. King of the Souls games. What you got?
Yeah, so this is my next Soul. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a Souls game at all. Completely opposite. In fact, it's very relaxing. Currently 55% off on Steam right now. You know, it's only $11. It's
That's
only
crazy.
$11.
That's crazy.
Okay, no. So this game was kind of like a impulse buy for me. I enjoyed Stardew Valley a lot, and I this game came out in the beginning of 2023. When it initially came out, there was some, even Cameron mentioned it, there was some like people's feedback that it was not like developed enough. And then the developer went and listened to everyone's feedback and kind of just, I mean, he went ham over 2023 and 2024. He's still going ham, if we're being honest. And the game is just so much fun. So it's Sunhaven. I don't even know if I talked about the game yet. So the game is Sunhaven. This was my game that I played while my baby was sleeping for the first month of her life. Pretty much carried me through my time off. It honestly sucked so many hours up of my time. It's a farming simulator, pretty much like a clone of Stardew Valley, if we're going to be honest, except for the fact that because it came out after Stardew Valley, he was able to do a lot of things that Stardew Valley couldn't, and improved upon a lot of things that Stardew Valley didn't, while simultaneously making a bunch of different like things that are just completely different. Um,
Okay.
so the game features you're a farmer and you're coming to Sunhaven on a train. You meet this girl on the train, and she's also coming to Sunhaven. She's like a blacksmith trainee. You get to Sunhaven, and then you just basically like get the runaround by the town mayor, who you actually can develop a relationship with. She's one of the romanceable characters. And yeah, you just kind of go to building. There's a story, but you don't have to follow the story. It's a pretty good story too. It's like a mythical dragon is involved, and there's darkness, and you have to figure out like, what's causing the
Yeah.
darkness. And there's like, what's really interesting about this game, which Stardew Valley didn't do, and what I really appreciate is, so you have Sunhaven, which is the town you start in. You get to make a farm. They're huge city, mind you. There's like forests attached to it. It's like a big area. There's a mine, like dungeons, like Stardew Valley had. But then you can go to like through the woods and explore a little bit more late game, and you can go to like this elf area, and you get like an entire second city in this elf village that you can also build a farm on. And it's just like wild. And like all the furniture is different, all the crops are different through all the four seasons. It's just like a whole new game basically that you get. And I haven't even touched the elf city yet. It's like a whole new thing. And then I also just got to a new city, which is called Nethergate. And it's another new city. It's a demon city. They're just full of demons. You can also have another farm there. All new farm crops, all new stuff, all new romanceable characters, all new crap. And it's just a whole new another game. And then in the ocean, there's like a whole new story in the ocean, and there's also like a new city in the ocean underwater, and a new farm and all this other stuff. And so there's 4 farms you can have in the game, and cities and romanceables and all that stuff, and it's multiplayer. And so the game is just huge now, compared to when it released, and it's a definite buy. I would say it's just like, I don't think I'll ever beat it. It's just that expansive that I don't think I could physically beat it ever.
It looks like fantasy Stardew Valley.
Pretty much.
Like high fantasy Stardew Valley. Like Stardew had some of that in it with the dungeon crawling and like the magic stuff that happened randomly. But when you weren't on, the western side of the map, it was really just like town relationships, right? Like it was very down to earth. This seems like every other thing you do is a magic garden with some mythical creature, and like just you just running into like these just different races of mythical beings, and it looks really cool. It looks a little overwhelming, to be honest, but it does look very
It
cozy.
it's so overwhelming to the fact that like when I do play it, I'm like, I have to focus on something or else I just don't want to play it. Like I guess it's a negative because there's so much to do. Like there's fish across all four lands that you can go to. There's farms across all four lands. You can get a house in all four lands. You can romance people in all four lands. You can develop like quest lines and do story, or you can go into the mine and like, go through like ore mining and fighting creatures and upgrading your swords and your weapons and your skills and your abilities and your spells. Or you can play with like the raid bosses that spawn in your farm. There's like one every season, which is it's just like another thing. And it's just the crafting system is pretty extensive, and I just get overwhelmed every time I play it. And so I have to like be like, all right, I'm like doing this, I'm exploring here today, like that's what I'm doing. Or else I'm like,
Yeah, it looks like a game for my retirement in 30 years. Like,
right.
it doesn't look like a game for today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like Stardew Valley has always got a place in my heart as like, the original. But this game just, if someone has done everything in this game, like if there's like a streamer, you'd like congrats, because there's just way too much to do.
Yeah. Wow. All right. I mean, it looks good. I just like I said, it looks overwhelming. So part of me is like, would I want to play this one? And my thought is like, I think I would enjoy it, but I don't know if I have the time for a game quite that massive.
Right. I guess like the topper of all of that, right, is it's an 8-person multiplayer game. So like one person
All
starts a
right.
farm and then like all your friends just can join in. No modding, like, well, I think Stardew Valley officially released multiplayer if I'm not wrong. But
I think so.
yeah, 8-person multiplayer, game over. Two friends over in the Elf Village, two friends in Sunhaven. You guys can fight. It's what happens. It's
All right.
I think Babs actually owns it, but he's like never played it. I don't know why he bought it.
Probably because Stardew was so good. This is a game that benefits from Stardew existing.
Yeah,
Because it looks like a more fantastic version of that. Like, I'm very tempted to get this, but like I said, I'm just worried that I don't actually have time for it.
I've probably realistically, in the time off that I spent with my baby in the month and a half I was off, I've probably realistically done about within that month, so 30 days, I probably did anywhere from 2 to like 8 hours a day in that
Okay.
span. So probably realistically within that month, I'd say maybe like 80 hours,
Okay.
and I'm nowhere near getting anywhere done to like beating this. I think the
Right.
last thing I did was like beat a boss, which was really fun in like the
I mean,
Underworld world.
I've still never like done anything meaningful in Stardew Valley, like past the opening month or two. Like I think I got out of summer once. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Even
that's why I'm
Stardew
not.
Valley,
Yeah.
like Stardew Valley has, I had to say, too much content, and it's like a quarter of what this has. And so like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Well, that's the thing. The game is games like that, like Stardew, like I'm guessing like Moonstone, but Cam would have to speak to that. And this game, like the Sunhaven, I don't think the point is to beat them, right? It's to live in them. It's to and like not in the sense of like Animal Crossing where it keeps real track of real time. So if you're not there every day, like you stuff dies on you. It's more like you just exist and you don't have to do anything. Like you can just kind of chill here and go fishing and or do some farming to make some money to get the dopamine, like it's supposed to be a cozy, relaxing time. And for someone who if there isn't like a driving force, it can kind of feel like, why am I spending time here? you know, Sometimes I feel like it's healthy to have something like that in your life to just kind of chill with, but at the same
Mhm.
time, sometimes it's hard to focus on something like that at the same time. Like it becomes like, what is this game, right? It's to relax. It's not necessarily trying to teach you anything, or
I gotta
make
beat it.
you do it.
I
Yeah,
gotta
right.
beat it. Where
Like,
do I get the next skill
you
point?
don't have to beat it.
Did I
You don't
beat it
have to.
yet?
Like, I have to be the most efficient farmer so that I can win at the first farm whatever festival at the end of the
And
year.
the funny thing about
Like,
this is, like,
don't need to do that.
you get enough gold pretty much from, like, mining and beating bosses and enemies and, like, the combat. And, like, farming, yeah, it can get you rich, but, like, I if you're just a good enough fisherman, like, you just make all your money. So, like, combat, from exploring, if you wanna just do the story, like, you don't need to farm. You could just completely cut out farming if you want to. Not saying that you should, but, like, the game sets you up, and if you wanna do something else, you can, which is really nice. It's like you don't
I
have to, like, do, like, you don't have to pick a job. You could do one other thing or, like, another thing and still succeed. You're not, like, locked on money or whatever.
Gotcha.
But that's uneven.
Nice. All right. I guess that means it's time for my last one.
Oh,
And I debated a lot on what to bring here. Because I don't have. It's like I don't really have another huge game from the year. I have some honorable mentions that are going to break our whole no Zelda rule. And I originally thought I would bring one of those for my fifth game, but I already kind of did that with Echoes of Wisdom. So I think for this one, I'm kind of going to bring just a random game that I didn't know existed. Came out in 2019, I believe. Let me check on that. No, sorry, came out in 2021. It's free to play, and it's by Playwing, which I don't know the entire history of, but I guess some of the things they've made, people have been really upset because they like never finished or never like did all the updates they said they were going to do. This game, I don't know that it needs much more. It's just a really fun it's a fun game to pick up for a few hours. And honestly, like I've only like spent maybe 3 or 4 nights playing it. But in that time, I feel like I saw most all there was to see in the game, and it's just a nice game to pick up, put down. Like each round, it's a multiplayer game. Each round only takes maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes to play through, so you don't have to spend a ton of time with it. But it's free to play, and it's called Century Age of Ashes. This is a dragon riding dogfighting game, which,
what?
if you
Oh.
had told me that there was a game like that basically from the time I started playing video games to today, I would have gotten it. Like, how could you not play the dragon dog fighting game? It's crazy. And the fact that it's just free to play, like it doesn't have the greatest reviews. Like it's sitting at like 7 out of 10, just about anywhere that's looked at it, because that's kind of what this is. It's just a cheap and dirty game that just needed to exist. um, and I had a lot of fun with it. Like there's different kinds of rounds. Like there's ones where it's like King of the Hill type stuff. Like you're trying to like secure certain areas. There's kinds where you're like delivering packages through the enemy. Like it's almost like capture the flag reverse style. Um, it's really cool. In terms of like the mechanics, the actual fighting feels good. It's kind of what you want it to be for dragon riding. Like you can chase down other dragons, like shooting fire at them. And does it play kind of? It feels like a regular dogfighting game in that you have like your special abilities too, where you can like fire rockets, even though it's not what it's called. It's like flame missiles or something. I don't know. It's got some cool actual like traversal mechanics that feels pretty organic with what you're doing. It's like a simple concept done well, and the game doesn't get too complex. There aren't that many game modes. there aren't that many classes to choose from. There's not that many options in the game. I feel like most of the games I played were like somewhere between 3v3 and 5v5, and that's all it needed to be. And quite honestly, like I love the time that I played it. I did fall off of it clearly if I only played it like 4 nights, but I think it's worth mentioning because this is a game that I feel like not a lot of people know about, but it's good, and I feel like it deserved a little bit more than what it got. I saw it when I saw somebody streaming it. I popped into the stream, and almost everybody in the comments was like, "What is this game? Like, where did you find this? What is this?" And that's where I was at too. I was like, "This is a thing," and then went and actually played it and enjoyed my time with it. So I would say give it a shot. You literally have nothing to lose. Like it's free, and your first few rounds aren't going to take a lot of time. So check it out.
Yeah, I
You got to
remember
ride a dragon.
watching you stream it, and I think you were in Discord, and I jumped in, and I was like, "What is this? Are you riding a dragon?"
Yeah.
And it does look fun. I honestly want to play it, but I'm just kind of like, I'm almost like a little scared to jump into the like Fortnite MOBA scene, you know,
Well, it's
or like
not
the
like
PvP scene, basically, of like
okay.
online combat.
Yeah, I get that. I feel that. It's definitely a game where it feels like there's like a ELO scaling where, they try to pair you with people around your skill level, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes you just end up with an ace who just dominates the whole battlefield. But from what I understand, all of the things you can earn in the game and the progression system's not super strong. Like you can unlock new abilities, but none of them are game breaking. So most of what you get is like cosmetics. Like you can ride a different color dragon. And that's like the most interesting thing that happens in terms of like what you gain. So even from the jump, you're able to kind of compete with people who've been in it a lot longer, which I actually prefer a game like that. I don't love it if a game's like, oh, it's PvP, but also there's like a hard progression. And if you're just starting, you're at a huge disadvantage. Like it doesn't feel like that. So that's another positive for this one. But yeah, like I said, it's really low commitment, and I feel like you get solid benefit for what it is.
You gotta fight a dragon.
I like riding dragons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good to see they're still updating it on Steam. Looks like they have an event running right now, and it got almost 20,000 positive reviews on Steam, which is like a pretty good tier to reach, honestly.
Is it on sale?
It's free.
But
It's on forever sale.
Oh,
It's free sale.
Free to play, my guy. You don't
All
gotta
right.
buy nothing, and if you do pay for something, it's probably a cosmetic. So don't.
Which
I
it
would
looks like
maybe don't do that.
they got some pretty expensive cosmetic packs. Like this one, the Zealot pack is $49.
Don't do it. Not even a little bit. Don't
They
ever
do got
holy!
They do got the introduction pack for free, but they got the fellow pack that's 39. They got the Arisen pack that's 29. They got 17 of these joints. Hold on, let me go down. So we got the Mighty Beast pack that's 19. They got the Dark Goliath at 39. They got the Colossus Deluxe pack that's 60. You know how they do. They got the Wishbringer pack that's only $11.99. That's 25% off right now.
Wow.
They got 17 of them packs. If you wanted all the packs together, it's $457.
So here's the thing I'm gonna say is that I played the game for free for like not that much time collectively. And one of the first things I unlocked was a sick looking dragon that made me never feel like I needed another dragon.
Ayo.
So don't buy any of the dragons.
But it's only $400.
So
I want the Colossus pack.
they're fishing for donations is what that is. Like you don't need to engage with any of
But I can spend $19 to get the mythical bone dragon with the dark powers of Noshir, the legendary bone dragon.
Bone
but it
dragon.
plays like every other dragon. You'll have
But
the
it's
same abilities of
bony.
every. I'm pretty sure you can just unlock a bone dragon through gameplay. Like, don't do it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. Good thing that they're all topical too, and they don't actually do gameplay like buffs.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our top 5 games that we played this year.
I know.
we
and
wanna-
we're already.
Do we want to get over
2
to the
hours in.
multiplayer games? I'd say maybe like do like a quick like I played this, and this.
No, I mean some of my games were multiplayer games, so I was just gonna do like honorable mentions.
Okay, so maybe we should just do like instead of like going to like a long depth thing, just be like I played this, it was good. Played this, it was good.
Yeah, basically that's what we did last time. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Do we want to go in the same order? Like Cam, you wanna start us off with it, or
What do you got?
Well, a couple of the games on my list that I played this year were games that I also played last year.
okay?
Like I was originally going to talk about Sea of Stars, but then you're like, "Oh, last year we talked about Sea of Stars." I'm like, "Oh, okay, my bad." So I guess my honorable mentions would be Sea of Stars, which we talked about last year, Void Crew that we talked about last year, Ember Knights that we talked about last year, and Persona 3 Reload, which is a fun game. It is a remake of Persona 3. Better graphics, maybe some new personas to get in the game, and maybe like another storyline added on.
Yeah, I was actually wanting to buy get a Persona game because it's been like a long time since I believe I played 3, and I was like debating on getting 5 or getting the 3 remake.
5 is really good. 4 Golden is also quite good. But that one doesn't have the graphics, obviously, as 5 does.
Yeah.
I never beat 5. It's a long game.
I don't know if I'd ever be able to beat a Persona game. Maybe I would if I was really into it.
So those are my honorable mentions.
All right, cool. Man, what do you have? I'm sorry, most of yours we talked about them already last year. If you want to go see that episode, it's called Best Place of 2023.
Ember Knights, so much fun.
Ember Knights
It's a good one.
For no reason.
Yeah.
All right. So one of my honorable mentions is Fonz, you already mentioned it. It was Pal World. Super good. Unrailed 2. If you like trains, you're gonna like Unrailed 2. Helldivers. A lot of my games are 2 this year. So
Helldivers 2, I thought we were going to end up talking about as one of somebody's main things, but it did not come up, and I didn't feel like I was into the game enough or good enough at the game. Like that game took the world by storm this year, and it was definitely one of the better things I played. But at the same time, I don't know if I was passionate about it, so I didn't want to be the one to bring it up and talk about it.
I think we're all indifferent. I think the game is fun. I think the game is cinematic. It's interesting. It's new. It's different. And I enjoyed the first one. We all did, Cameron and I.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's that I don't want to play it single player or with like people I don't know. And so I'd only play it with you guys. And I think I would pick it up again 100%. But it's sort of like I don't want to play without the bros. It's a bros game or, a Gale's game. You can't just play it with some randos. It just doesn't work, at least in my eyes. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
All right.
But yeah, just continue down the list, dude. You get Path of Exile 2, super good, just awesome. And then Enshrouded. Enshrouded was a game that came out this year. probably the most in-depth building game that's ever existed to this day. You can build down to the molecule, and I literally mean that. It's like you building a house in this fantasy world. It's like Lord of the Rings kind of fantasy. You get like swords and it's kind of slower combat. You get like a wand and like a bow. Um, you like, and the building is like very hard, very time consuming, and you can build down to like a single 1 by 1 square for anything like stone walls, roofing, anything. You can dig down into the underground and build like a complete underground base off the side of a cliff. Like you can do literally whatever your heart desires, and the game is still in early access, so they're making it's just so good. Love it, so good. Those are my honorable mentions.
Okay. Cool. My honorable mentions, I got Cobalt Core, which I played right at the start of last year. And I mean, I got through a few runs of the game. Didn't get much further than that. I think I completed like one character storyline. It started on a second before I was kind of fell off of it, but it was a really good game. I still could pick it up today and enjoy it. Like I just know that it's there, you know. But Cam kind of went in depth about what it is. It's like a pixel sci-fi like resource management combat game. It's very much like it's arcadey style, but it's like turn-based card building. It's a lot. There's a lot to it. But it's all put together very well. It's done very well. It's not overwhelming to play. It's actually, when you figure out how to do well in it, it feels really good. So definitely wanted to shout that out. Like that, I did try it. I do have it. I do enjoy it. Like definitely worth a check out. Definitely worth, like, it deserved more attention than it got, honestly. It was unfortunate that it came out so late in 2023 that like awards didn't have time to even notice it, because I feel like it deserved more recognition.
It is at sale.
So everything's on sale. This year I did another run through of Twilight Princess. Like I started that in 2023, finished it in 2024. That game, always a good classic Zelda game, but at the same time, like I think this was the second time I've actually ever played through it, and I didn't love it as much the second time as I did the first time, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm sure when we do the season on it, I'll have more to share about that. But it just felt like you could kind of tell that the developers didn't treat it the same way as they did the previous games that they had made. So it's kind of in a weird spot between two games that they were really passionate about, and it kind of shows. So yeah, interesting trip down memory lane, and kind of getting disillusioned to some of my grander memories from before. But just wanted to shout it out because it is still a really good game overall, given that it's in the in the Legend of Zelda series. Other than that, I think there is the TCG Shop Simulator that kind of came out of nowhere. Played it for maybe a total of like 6 hours, I want to say. It's kind of a cozy simulator game, because it's like running a business that's just kind of runs on auto, and it seems really hard to fail. So you just kind of get to sit there and watch customers come in and sell them stuff. Cool game. It doesn't seem
too.
super deep yet, right? But it seems like a pretty chill game. I think it was pretty popular for streamers for a hot second, mainly just because it was a kind of game you could easily like interact with chat while you were playing, that kind of thing. Still been playing Clash of Clans all through this year. It's probably the most accessible game I've had, just because it's in my pocket at all times. And I still have like a group of like a dozen other friends who I play it with, so that we all kind of help each other out with the game, and kind of play together. So it's just been consistent. I actually did started paying for like season passes and stuff, but even that, like, I've been limiting it. Like, I haven't gotten anything more than the season pass each month. So, but first few months of playing it, I didn't pay anything, and I still had just as much fun. So The passes are more just for convenience, and it's honestly for the teamwork aspect, because there are certain things that just become a lot easier to help other people play the game if you have the season pass. It's like, it's really weird how they did that, but at the same time, kind of smart, because yeah, they got to make their money somehow, right?
I see the funniest commercials for Clash of Clans on YouTube.
Yeah,
They have the wildest commercials. Like,
they
look up
do.
on
They
YouTube,
do.
like
They
Clash
have
of
really good,
Clans.
like, whenever they have a new season or whatever, they always drop some commercial, and it's just wild. But they're really good marketers. I will say that. And then lastly, I wanted to mention this. I got back into Ocarina of Time. I actually just we're recording this on, you know, well, we started on the 30th of December. Now it's the 31st. So, Happy New Year, everybody. But I just finished a run of Ocarina of Time where I was following a glitchless all main quests speedrunning guide, and trying to learn the skips and the tricks that they use, and honestly was able to perform most of them at least once in my playthrough. And I found that to be really fun, actually. Like, to try to learn new ways to play the game, learn ways where you can kind of break past what they wanted you to do something that's like way more slick, and kind of cuts away some of the repetitiveness of the game. Knowing now that there's a pretty simple set of tricks that you can do to get through the water temple with like 4 keys, and just not even have to deal with the rest of it, I'm like, that is chef's kiss right there. Like, I'm so happy I learned that because I don't know if I'll ever do the full water temple again, to be honest. But yeah, just some really cool stuff to learn, and it honestly, like, I found it to be a really engaging and like a challenge, right? To do that, like something to really like try to dig into and learn how to interact with the mechanics in a way that I wouldn't have never thought to do before. So that was one of the more exciting gaming moments of this year that just kind of made it in just before the finish line. Was opening another can of Ocarina. So that's been kind of the highlights of my gaming year. That, and I think, we finished Tears of the Kingdom last year, no big deal. But
Yeah.
Momentous.
it was a great ending, and also I'm glad to not be playing it anymore.
It was a battle.
Yeah.
It was definitely a battle.
So cool, guys. I mean, that's our list. That's our best plays. So we're gonna probably do the same thing. Throw up like a hey, what were your best plays of 2024? If you want to comment on that, we'll be sure to like either like bring those comments up in a future episode of the show, or it might be next year when we go through the whole rundown of what the best plays of 2024 were, before we get into those for 2025. But usually we get to them before that. So yeah, unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about, I think I'm ready to call this episode an episode and be done with it.
I got I guess what I'm excited for 2025. Just like a real quick a little synopsis here. So this is a game that if you told me this was going to be a thing when I was in like 2008, I would have lost my entire self in the sauce. Um so it's called Kingmakers. It's coming out in Q1 of next year. It's I don't even know how to it's like a strategy game. So like, like Civilization, Sid Meier's Civilization, where you have like two warring factions fighting each other, right? Except for the fact that it's a first person shooter in medieval times. So you're this guy who's gone back in time from like the year 3000, and you're trying to save the future. And apparently for some reason the future, you save it in like the Crusades, like in medieval Europe. Apparently that's the key to saving the future is medieval Europe. So you build like this kingdom, and then you fight other kingdoms that caused like other mishaps in like European history. But except you bring like a futuristic arsenal back to the game, and you fight the whole like army. It's I don't even know, probably thousands of soldiers on the battlefield at once, and it's an AI full real-time simulation of thousands of soldiers fighting at the same time, with next gen multi-threaded AI that controls each and every single soldier's decision making, pathfinding, and loyalty. So this makes a completely like unique procedural generation system. So you basically have like this army that marches in for you and then like just charges in. It's like a full on like Sparta 300 like fight scene, except for the fact that you got like an AK-47 just gunning down all these medieval soldiers. And it's like, if you told me that was the thing, like back in 2008, I would have lost my stuff. Like, I want this game so bad. It's something I never knew I needed until I saw that I needed it.
Just mowing down Crusaders with machine guns.
Yeah, and it's co-op, which just makes this even better. Is three friends can join in on the conquest, which just is so good. It's like Chivalry 2, except you have an AK and everyone has a sword.
Chivalry 2 was going to be another one of my honorable mentions, but I think we've talked about it before. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
Yeah, we might not have. It's medieval combat. It's good.
Yeah,
It's chaos, but it's good.
I have like so many games I'm excited for 2025, but I think this is like between Monster Hunter Wilds, like this is like the one I'm super excited for. Like I cannot wait for this. I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this game.
Gotcha.
For me, mine would be Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter Wilds as well, but also hopefully Kingdom Hearts 4.
In 2025, oh man,
Yeah,
I heard they're making a sequel to Okami.
yes, they
interesting.
are finally.
And that is what I'm looking forward to. I never finished the first Okami, I don't think.
Bro, it's been years.
Yeah, I remember getting very far. I just don't remember beating it.
Like
I
that was
remember
a
I don't
fighting
think I beat it either.
Yeah.
Wii game, right? Like not even Wii U. That was Wii, right?
Yeah, it
Or
was
GameCube?
Wii. It was on PS2 and I think Xbox as well. Like it was everywhere, but the Wii was like special because there's a lot of paintbrush mechanics in the game.
Yeah.
Where you do attacks by drawing on the screen, and the Wii remote was like made for that. So the Wii was like the place where it really took off and was good. Like I think that was considered the best version of it. But I do remember seeing like review videos of the PS2 version and stuff like that as well. So it wasn't just a Wii game.
Oh my god, they have Okami on Steam. HD Okami for $5.
I imagine it plays well with a mouse as well, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, Okami was a good game. Okami 2 might also be a good game. That's one I'm looking forward to. There's some other games that I have on like my wish list and stuff that I just haven't had a chance to like really look into or purchase or anything. I'm trying to be really selective about what I get. So yeah. Oh, the other thing I'm looking forward to though, Baldur's Gate 3 crossplay. If that drops early 2025 like they say it's supposed to, I'm finally gonna be able to play that game with some friends who wanna, I don't know, maybe murder hobo around or
Yo, I'm down to murder hobo.
or just like play troll characters just to be ridiculous. Any of that sounds like a blast. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that. Right now I have like 2 games of my own going and then I have a game with my wife going and like it's just been like cool family time type stuff, but listen, I could get like a 4-player cheese round going and that would be a welcome addition to my playthroughs.
You're not murder hoboing with the wife though?
No. No. It's not our play style. I'm trying to take the story seriously, you know.
Fair enough.
Right now, I'm debating on this whole Moonstone Island cassette piece bundle because I could get them on Switch and then have them on Switch, but they would cost a little bit more because they don't have a bundle on Switch.
So don't know about crossplay. So if you got cassette beasts on Switch, I don't know if we could play together.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Nintendo's
Yeah.
not known for their online services, so I would not be surprised if crossplay was very difficult to achieve in that fashion.
That's an understatement.
I think the only game I've ever played on Switch crossplay was Overwatch 2.
Gotcha. All right. I think that makes the decision pretty clear then.
I think Fall Guys was too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other highly anticipated? Oh, Night Rain.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Elden Ring, Night Rain. Just looks amazing for no reason.
Roguelike Elden Ring, like what?
It's like they finally decided to just be like, we have all of these assets that are like cross compatible. And we just make like a really good roguelike game that just uses all of these things and lets players just have a ton of fun.
They've had the same coding structure since Dark Souls, so it makes sense to me.
And it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. They're just like, hey, everything we've ever used is fair game. You can
Is
just throw
now
it
in a
in here as
roguelike.
an enemy.
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited for I guess 2 more games. The Killing Floor 3. I know Cameron knows because we played Killing Floor 2 a lot. But Killing
Hey.
Floor 3 is coming out officially next year, which is super exciting. Might not jump on it if it's like $60, but definitely gonna look into it. And Jump Ship is another game that everyone's exciting for. Another game that's just a co-op FPS. It's basically Void Crew with guns, essentially, and just better combat. So I'm looking forward to that too.
What
And then
about Blight Survival?
I don't think that's coming out next year.
Well, that's a crying shame.
I think that's still a ways away, which is kind of sad. Hopefully it comes out next year though. I don't know. And then another game I found that when I was doing like a search on Steam that I'm not really sure. But it's basically 3D Custom Robo. If you guys remember Custom Robo on the, I believe it was GameCube. I want to say it was GameCube. It could have been N64. I mean, this is like a while back, but I'm pretty sure it's GameCube. Is Mecha Break. It's basically 3D Custom Robo, and it's got like mission based. It's another mission based game, but there's also like a 3v3 or 6v6 PvP, and just looks so fun. I want to play it so bad. Do you guys remember Custom Robo?
Yeah, I still have it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never played Custom Robo.
It's one of the ISOs I have on my Wii U.
Oh, goodness.
Custom Robo. Listen, I never got far in it. I played it more with you than I ever played it on my own. Like in a game that you already had progressed. So I remember playing it and I ended up getting it and then not getting very far in it, and I just still have it. So one day I plan to go hard and just try to like get through that game, but
yeah,
it's not a high priority.
I did play a game that was said to be very similar to that. It was called, I think, Little Battlers Experience or something on the 3DS, where you also customized a robot and you got to put like different legs on them and give them different weapons and different special attacks, and you would go into one-on-one fights and stuff. I heard that people said it reminded them a lot of Custom Robo, and I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. It looks pretty similar, actually.
Nice. All right. Well, y'all, this has been our Best Plays episode. Thank you so much for coming in and listening. If you have any recommendations or any games that you really enjoyed, whether or not they're from 2024, just if you've played them in 2024, that counts. Feel free to comment that and let us know what you've been playing. But yeah, y'all have a good few weeks until you hear from us again, and we can finish up our Minish Cap season. Until then, catch you next time on A for No, B for Yes.
What did you play?
This is your aromatic candle signing out.
Did you get all that?
Hi everyone, I'm Nerd Bummer.
And I'm Tactic, and we're two of the hosts of the Online Warriors podcast.
Our podcast started as a way for three best friends to keep in touch and discuss their nerdy hobbies like movies, gaming, tech, and more.
Since then, we've grown into a great community. Every Wednesday, we chat about the latest nerdy news before getting hands-on with our weekly nerdy adventures.
And don't forget our high-stakes trivia game. Come join the fun at onlinewarriorspodcast.com and every major podcast platform. And now, back to the show.
Welcome to Shatsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Chatsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Chatsunani, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe.
Stay awesome, and most importantly,
Stay hydrated.